So one of the techniques you can use to impact your product imagery, especially your lifestyle imagery, is to add some blur to keep the focus on the subject. In this case, I'm using a photo of these models and I want to bring out the middle model. So what I'm going to do first is isolate her from the rest of the image by using the pen tool to trace around the area that I want to isolate. If you haven't done any selections like this before, I recommend you check out my video called How to Separate an Image from its Background in Photoshop that provides a whole introduction on 2 different selection techniques. Since her hair is pretty wispy, I'm actually going in a lot closer here and not bothering with the little fine hairs that are out of the edges. I'll show you later on in the video how we're going to bring those back in. And I'm just going to speed this up so we can get along. So as I get to the end of my selection and close the path, I go to select. Usually I put a feather of 1 pixel, and now I have my model selected. Going to select, select and mask brings up a dialog box. You can adjust the radius to bring in a little more of the outline. And under output this, you want to make sure it says new layer with layer mask down at the bottom. Hit OK. And now my model is isolated on its own layer. On the background layer, I go to Filter and Gaussian Blur, and that's what gives me a nice soft blur, which you can adjust the radius of to get the desired effect. On the top layer with the model, I like to also enhance that to make the effect even more noticeable by increasing the saturation, just making it slightly pop, and then doing a little bit of tweaking in the brightness and contrast. So now what we want to do is bring back in some of the detail of her hair that got lost in the blur. On the mask layer of the model, I'm painting in with the paintbrush on black, adjusting the opacity, making sure it's on normal, just to bring in some of the wispy detail from the bottom layer. So what I'm doing here is painting out that mask so that it brings in some of that around her face, any areas where the blur effect is just too abrupt, and that way we can keep the whole image looking a little more natural. And that's how you add a blur.